In this video, we will explore the features and benefits behind advanced tenders within Construction Manager Premium. Advanced Tenders builds on existing functionality of Construction Manager, but provides more detail, more flexibility, more control, and options for quick and easy data entry. With advanced budgeting capability, Advanced Tenders allows you to create tender code structures bespoke to each project. You may create simplified cost code structures in a single flat list, or you may choose to create hierarchical detail, splitting the project into different stages, tasks, rooms, plots, or tender code categories. Budgets may be recorded against each tender code with either lump sum or quantified values, which contain budgeted quantity, cost rate, and budget totals. Variations may be added to split tender codes by quoted works and variations, and automated alerts may be configured to tell you when you're about to go over budget. Tender code templates can be created and reused on new projects, and multiple templates can be imported into a single contract, allowing you to build customized structures or kits of items for certain types of projects, plots, or house types. Tender codes can be allocated to nominal codes for easy data input, and controls may be added to ensure transactions are only entered against relevant tender codes. If your tender codes contain kits of materials or other resources to be purchased on your project, purchase orders can be populated automatically with descriptions, quantities, and cost rates. Tender codes can be used to itemize your sales applications, allowing you to simply apply for a value, quantity, or percentage complete of all individual items in your tender code structure. So here in Construction Manager, I've got several contracts that we can look at in this session. First of all, I've got a very simplified structure on a generalized contract. If I just look at the Advanced Tender tab within this contract, we'll see here that I have an original contract with a budget of £93,000. I may also have some sales budgets in here, so I can see that the value of this job quoted to the client was £130,000. This makes up the quoted works or the original contract. I also have one variation on this project, so I can allocate budgets for costs and revenue to each individual variation. We may have as many variations on one contract as we need to, and each variation acts as a child project within the overall contract number. Within each of these sections, I have built in several tender code groups. The tender code groups will contain overall budgets, but within those groups I have the actual tender codes themselves. So in this case, I've got the list of different types of material codes. I will have different types of labor, subcontractor packages, prelims, and so on. Against each of these tender codes, I can record a budget for costs, and I also have a section where I've itemized out my billing lines that will appear on a sales application, and they may contain my contract value or value quoted to the client. Against each of my tender codes, I have selected the cost budget alert, which means that as I raise purchase orders and other transactions, once I exceed budget on my tender code, the system will automatically flag up and tell me that I'm about to exceed the budget. Behind each tender code, I have some more advanced options that will help with my data entry. So within the Analysis tab here, I have a number of tick boxes. This will indicate which transaction types I may process against this tender code. For example, I can process a supplier order and a supplier invoice, but I can't put a labor timesheet against this code because it is for materials. In my Accounts tab, I can also specify some default nominal codes. So I could say every time I use this tender code on a purchase invoice, always populate the related nominal code from my accounts platform. This is a fairly simplified structure, a fairly flat list, so we have one levels of groups, and we have then one level of tender codes within those groups. I can also expand out my variations here, and this may contain the exact same coding structure used by a template, or it could contain its own bespoke structure specific to this variation. Coming back to my list of contracts, I have a different example here. So we'll open up this contract and look at the tender code structure. So again, I've got my main contract. Within this, I have three groups. Now this time the groups are split by the different plots that I'm working on. So in this scenario, I'm actually a joinery contractor working on some new build housing. Now, underneath each of these plots, I then have some subgroups, which will categorize first fix and second fix joinery. And underneath those groups, again, I have some more groups for the different types of work that needs to be completed for first fix and second fix. And again, within those, I'm breaking this down even further, and I now have itemized different resources that will be required to complete the stud work on the first fix joinery on plot 3. Now this is where I'm recording some quantified budgets, and I've effectively created a kit of items that will be required to complete each task on this project. So I have a description of the items, I have a quantity that will be required to purchase, I have the expected or budgeted buy-in price from my supplier, and multiply those together, that will give me a budget for my overall costs. It is the cost budget, the overall value, that my budget alerts will check on. Now, I could add more sections into this project by utilizing my templates. Let's have a look at a different contract here. So this one will be actually blank. There's nothing in this particular contract here. So what we can now do is use my templates. So these are some predefined templates that I've already built into the system. And in this particular scenario, I'm going to be a house builder. So I've built in some house types here. So I've got a cutler house, an antler house, and a potter house. So they may all contain default budgets within those. So I'm going to say plot 1 was a cutler. So I'll just apply that template. And that will now just apply that as a group into my project. If I come back to my contract level, I now may choose to go back into templates, and I'll say plot 2 was an antler type house. So I'm just going to apply that template as well, and we now have 2 house types. Now I might choose to add some more narrative in here, so I'll just call that plot 1, for example, and I'll call that plot 2. There is also a section specifically for the plot number, so I could just populate this in here once I have set up some plots within my default section. So again, I could add a series of plots here. I could say we're going to start at plot 1. I'm doing 20 plots on this project. We'll just create that, and that creates all those different plot numbers for me. So if I now come back to my advanced tenders, I can now apply a relevant plot number to this particular group. So I'll just save my project here. We'll see now that we have some budgets already built in because they come built into my template. However, if prices have changed for whatever reason, or if I actually think that I can give some of the brickwork to the groundworks contractor and I might repackage some of these items, I'm just going to start to change some of these budgets here accordingly. So whilst they may be built into the template, we can also amend these so they are specific to each individual project. So there we've seen how we can itemize our coding structure by different groups and tender codes, and how we can make those specific to each particular project. Also how we can import templates into each of those projects. Now let's come back to the project that we looked at earlier with the joinery jobs. Now against each of these tender codes, I could choose to pull through the descriptions, the quantities, and the cost rates onto my purchase orders. So I can choose to do this in my tender options here. So if I come into settings, I can choose to say on my supplier purchase orders, I would like to load through the tender details. So we're just going to save that setting here. And we'll now just raise a purchase order. So we'll put in a supplier order here, I'll create a new order. Let's just pick these guys here. We'll choose some items. So again, I'm just going to choose my joinery contract here. And we'll see when I drop down to my tender codes, we'll now see that I've got the sections, I've got the plot, and I've got the individual descriptions of each of the items that I need to purchase. So I'm just going to choose to order some of these doors. You'll see here, now that the description is populated automatically, I've also got the quantity and I've got the price that has come from my budget. Now at this stage, I could choose to change the price if I need to, but I will now get a warning to tell me I'm about to exceed my budget. So we can see here by adding these settings to our contracts, we can easily raise our purchase orders with minimal effort. Now we can also use these items on our sales applications to itemize out our applications for payment. So again, I'm going to choose my applications here and we'll just look for one of my contracts. This time I'm going to use a groundworks contract as an example. This one again is using advanced tenders. This one again is for a house build example, but it doesn't need to be. What I've got here is my groups, and within those groups, again, I've got different tasks to perform, and then I've got different items within that. Now I can actually raise my sales application at any level. I could do this at contract level as overall values. I could do it at the plot level, at the group level, or tender code level. I'm just going to do it at plot level here. I'll just say, okay, on plot 1 here, we have a budget. Now this is a budget value that we've quoted to the client. I can see the percentage that I've already applied for and what that means in terms of values. So I'm just going to pop that up to 90% here, and that will just calculate my value to apply for. Now, for the next group, I'm just going to enter an overall sum. So I'm just going to say, ask for £30,000 here for this item, and that will increase my percentage. So I'm applying for a little bit more than what I budgeted for, what I quoted the client in this case. We'll see if we get away with that. And on the third group, I'm now actually going to do this at a subgroup level. So I'll say this particular task went to 25%, maybe another task went to 75%, and so on. So we can see here how we're now beginning to itemize out our sales applications by our tender code structure. For more information on advanced tenders within Construction Manager, please call or email us now.